What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scales 13. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing how to prepare for a new reptile. Okay guys, so a special treat for today's video. I actually have my buddy Tiny Tim, who's actually going to be on the show today. So, preparing for a new reptile. So you've already seen the pictures of this beautiful reptile online, or you've seen this reptile in a pet store, or you saw a video of somebody interacting with this reptile and you're thinking, wow, I really want this pet. So the proper mindset would be, how do I bring this animal home responsibly and give it everything it needs in order to live a healthy and happy life, right? Well, the first thing you're gonna need to do is do research on the reptile. And there's many different ways you can do research. You can start off with books on the reptile. You could do care guides. There's different sources on the internet. So we're gonna explain some of these things. The first thing that I like to go to is basically just books about the reptile, just see how interesting this animal is, where it's basically talking about this animal from a biologist's point of view, where the animal is being observed in the wild, and that's just going to determine how interested you are in this animal species, and it's going to basically make you think, okay, well, is this animal really going to be something that I'm going to keep for a long amount of time, and am I going to get bored with it quickly, right? Like, how interesting is this animal? And then when you decide whether or not you want to have this animal, let's say you decide you do want to have the reptile, then you want to learn how to take care of it. And the first thing you want to do after you've decided you want to take care of this reptile is look at care guides. You want to read as many care guides as possible. Now, of course, be careful. Not all care guides are going to be up to date, and some of them just don't give proper care. So what I would actually do is I would look for care guides posted on Facebook groups. Now, I know Facebook groups tend to have a little bit of a negative light in the reptile hobby, but if these are care guides that are used by breeders, people who have researched this species and dealt with animals for well over a decade. And you've also seen pictures and videos of these animals living and thriving. And these are examples of animals living long into their lifespan and are actually comfortable enough and healthy enough to produce offspring. Care guides of this nature tend to be something that is more value to a keeper rather than a shot in the dark of whether or not I trust this information. For example, I'm a member of an AccuMonitor fans group on Facebook, and they actually have a care guide there that is written very well for AccuMonitors. And they also have links there posted of different things that deal with monitor lizards' behavior and their overall life cycle as well. Another thing about care guides is you want to make sure your care guides are up to date. You don't want to use a care guide that was made in like the 1980s or let's say 1992 when you're looking to take care of an animal in 2021. It just doesn't make any sense. The reason why is because not only have we learned more about reptiles over all the years that we've been keeping these animals as pets, but the technology in the reptile community has also been advanced. For example, UVB lighting. UVB lighting back in the day when they first started making it for reptiles had a lot of UVC, and they didn't really know that this was harmful to reptiles. Now there's very little UVC in good quality reptile UVB products, and the UVB is doing a very good job of allowing the reptile to synthesize vitamin D3 within its body and absorb the calcium needed for strong bones and prevent the animal from getting metabolic bone disease. So after care guides, you're also going to find quick little ways to absorb the information faster and things that may be more fun. One, for example, is going to be videos. You can find videos posted on somebody's website. You can also find YouTube videos. Even though I am a reptile YouTuber, at the same time, I would say take videos with a grain of salt. And even if you watch some of my care guides or some of my videos on my channel, listen, do your research further. Don't just watch a YouTube video and then say, okay, I learned all I need. Now I'm going to go and buy a reptile. Number one, watch multiple YouTube videos that are updated and are showing examples of animals living in captivity in a positive manner. And after you're done watching those videos, read your care guides again. And even after you've done everything that has basically been put together for you as far as care guides, videos, information posted on Facebook groups and different links where you're reading the discussions and just trying to learn. Outside of that controlled environment, go even further. What I want you to do is Google where the animal's from and look up the weather regions that this animal is encountering in the wild. What you want to do is basically replicate the climate that the animal is in, and you want to give them all those environmental factors that are positive for the animal's health, and you want to bring that back into your enclosure design to make sure that the animal has everything that it needs. Okay guys, so after you're done your research, now you're going to consider bringing the animal home, and you're going to think about how much it's going to cost you in total. Not only the cost of the animal, but the cost of the enclosure, the food, the bedding, the lighting, the setup as a whole. You want to make sure that you are considering every dollar that you're putting into this animal to make sure that it factors into your budget, so that way you can take care of this animal for its entire life. Another thing that you should do as well is put some money on the side for vet bills. Just a little bit at a time, just have a little safety net. The reason that you want to do this is because you want to make sure that your reptile can survive. So the third and final thing you want to do before you buy your reptile, you've done your research, you've looked at the budget, and nothing has convinced you that you don't want this reptile anymore. You're like, this is the reptile for me, and I want to keep this thing. I want to buy it. I'm going to give it the best life I can possibly give it. The third and final thing you want to do is set up the enclosure first. And what I mean by that is don't set it up and then throw the animal right in it. Even if you go to a one-stop shop like a pet shop that has literally the enclosure that you need for the reptile, after you've done your research and you've made sure that this is the proper enclosure and it has the lighting, the food, everything you need to take care of this reptile, you don't want to put that together and then put the reptile in right away. What I would suggest doing is buying the enclosure and setting everything up from the bedding, the humidity, the lighting, and get everything in there set up for the reptile, and dial in those temperatures, write down the numbers, write down the daily temperature swing of how cold it gets at night, how warm it is in the morning, what the midday temperature is like, how cool is the cool side of the enclosure, how hot is the basking spot, how warm is the warm side of the enclosure. You want to make sure the animal can thermoregulate properly, hey buddy, without burning itself or getting too cold at night. Do you need nighttime heating? Is the area that you live in, or is your household too cold for the animal to survive or not get sick, for an easier way of saying it, overnight? You want to make sure that you've considered all these factors before you bring an animal home. You want to be anal retentive. You really want to be anal retentive because you don't want to have a tragedy after you've put all this time in to take care of your reptile. I'll give you a small example. My blue-tongued skink, when I first brought him home, I bought the enclosure and I bought everything, and I didn't set it up before I got the animal. And personally, going back a few years ago, I don't believe I did enough research on this animal to know what species it was, so that way I'd have the proper humidity, right? He got a little respiratory infection, was sick for a little while. Thank goodness I actually saved up the safety net of having enough money for a vet bill to take him to the vet. He got his antibiotics, he got better. It wound up being a happy ending this time, thank goodness. But what I learned from that situation is, wow, okay, well that really could have gone south. What did I do? When I got my next reptile, which was my Achy-Miter, I bought the enclosure first. I put the substrate in first. I set up the water bowl, I set up the lighting. I bought a temperature gun. I took the temperature of the basking spot. I took the temperature of the cool side, the warm side. I looked at the humidity. I would even get up at night and see what the temperature was at night after the lights turned off on the timer to determine whether or not I needed any supplemental heating overnight to keep the reptile from getting too cold. These are all the things you need to consider. And so far, knock on wood, Thunder's been really healthy. I haven't had to rush into the vet. He hasn't been really sick. He's been vibrant. His colors look amazing. His body structure looks awesome. No MBD. He's super alert. He's great to interact with. But even outside of interaction, my main point of what I'm saying here is he's healthy. And since I made that adjustment, I'm gonna take that same practice into whenever I buy a new reptile to set up the enclosure first and make sure that it's suitable for when the animal comes home. Because another thing you want to consider is stress. Anytime you bring a new reptile home, it's in a new environment, it's scared, it doesn't know you, it doesn't know your scent, it's not familiar, it's stressed out. Stress will bring down an animal's immune system just like it will with a human's. So when you bring an animal that's stressed out into a new environment, if you can make the environment as comfortable and as safe as possible, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do a great service to that animal where as it's being acclimated to its new environment, this animal's gonna have an easier transition period into being your new pet. I wanna thank everybody for watching this video. Please don't forget to follow the Instagram, which is scales_13. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my videos if you wanna see more of my content. I hope that this video helped you out. Have a great day. Peace.